All right. I think we're going. Welcome to American Hammers TV. We've got a really special episode tonight. Justin and I do with Tom Atherton from Hammers Chat. He's with us live from somewhere in England where it's 2:06 in the morning, I think, something along those lines. So,
Yeah.
admire his dedication. Before we get started, as usual, I want to mention our sponsors, Strava Craft Coffee, great coffee, or so I'm told, from Denver. And if you go to the Strava Craft website now, you can use the code Hammers15 to get yourself a nice discount. I think it's 15% discount. We have Drinkware Design. Check out Drinkware Design. There's all kinds of really cool stuff, like custom engraved gifts and mugs and that sort of thing. Tim's got a mug. I don't have a mug yet. I'm getting a mug. But Tim's got a mug, so when he's back on, he'll show you his mug. But Drinkware Design has been good to us. Check out our website, AmericanHammersTV.us. Go to the shop link, and you can get, you can get one of these. American Hammers TV T-shirts. They just came in today. The first batch just came in today, and I got to tell you, I didn't know what they'd be like because you don't know what you're going to get with some of these internet things where you sign up and they just print stuff for you. It's really nice. It fits well. It's good quality. This isn't some lame transfer that you sweat underneath. You know, it's nice. So check these out. We got a few more days going on the campaign, so check it out if you get a chance. But that's enough of that. Tom, welcome. How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks, Lee. You're right. Yeah, it is 2:06 in the morning, but I think this is it's bog standard for me. I'm usually awake at this time, so it's not too bad.
You know what? Before I had kids, I was the same way. I was up all night, but now I treasure any sleep I can get. So, yeah, but I'm glad you're with us. So I think Justin and I have a lot of questions for you, but you and I, when Hammers Chat did the 24-hour charity broadcast for Isla, maybe about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, something like that. You and I talked a lot on that. Oops.
Just mute. Let me just mute that phone.
No worries. You and I talked quite a bit on that, but I don't think you've been on our show yet. So I think we have a lot that we want to get to. But I guess the first thing is tell me a little bit about why you're West Ham.
Wow. To be honest with you, I think I've got a number of people to blame in my family. So I'm about fourth generation West Ham. I got it from my dad's side. Interestingly, his dad was Arsenal, I believe, but his stepdad was mad West Ham, and he was the one that got him into that. But consequently, as well, my granddad on my mum's side of the family, so her dad, or his side was West Ham or whatever. They all grew up around Dagenham and the sound of the Bow Bells and Romford and around that sort of area of London. So it was very working class. However, when I grew up, my family, we all lived in Essex. And for anybody that obviously lives over in Essex, there's a large contingent of West Ham fans that travel in every single week on the C2C lines that they have. I know quite a few sort of like Three Hammers as well. I know one of the guys from Three Hammers gets on the same train station as me to get to the games and stuff. So, yeah, it kind of all was born from my grandparents' side and from my dad, really, unfortunately, who then cursed me for for all of eternity.
Hey, Tom, why is it that there are so many West Ham fans in Essex?
I don't know, really. I think it was just I think as a lot of fans or people in general moved outside of London, because I think especially for the working class, it's so expensive to live in certain areas of London. I think just that community in general sort of migrated out in towards Essex. So, even Southend, Canvey Island, Benfleet, Thundersley, I don't know, places like that. It's very widespread in Essex. And it's interesting because obviously it's not their local team. And there's quite a few Spurs fans, I think, that live out that direction as well, that also travelled in. So, I mean, I haven't lived personally, and we might get onto that, but I haven't lived personally in Essex for the last 16 years. So I couldn't really give you a definitive answer, but that would probably be my assumption as to why there's not too many fans in Essex, or not too many fans, or lots of fans, should I say, that live out in Essex.
Sorry, Justin, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, where do you live in London? If you do live in London?
No. Well, my parents split up when I was about 1 or 2 years old, and my mum moved up north, wanted a better life up here. And it's nice in Yorkshire, which is where I'm currently based. But I go to university in Leeds, which is about 20 minutes on the train from me, so about 45 minutes from here. But my dad at the minute he lives. It's difficult to describe. He lives in a little place that's not very nice called Canvey Island. That
oh yes, yes, I've heard of it.
It's about half an hour from Southend on the train, or maybe even less, about 25 minutes. But it's a bit of a dump in Canvey Island. So it's
I read an article just today in the Guardian, and don't judge me. It just popped up in my newsfeed, okay? But there was a Guardian article about Essex and the migration from East London to Essex, and really starting even like in the 20s and 30s, but especially after World War II in the 50s and 60s, and the kind of the creation of the stereotype of the Essex man and what it means to be from Essex, and some not particularly positive stereotypes. And there were a lot of mentions of Canvey Island. And in fact, one of the West Ham was even very briefly. Somebody was interviewed for the article, even briefly said, this is like an Essex lifer who was an older gentleman who had been there for many years, and he watched these people come in, and he said all of a sudden people were discussing West Ham United in the pub, and that had never happened before. So apparently there's a big like East London sort of diaspora, who moved into Essex in the last 50, 60 years. And I guess that explains why there's a lot of West Ham supporters there.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think there are obviously quite a lot in East London, but I think it's just London in general is so diverse as a culture now. Even if you went to Upton Park, there's a huge Bangladeshi community. There's a big Windrush community that came over from the West Indies. So I think it's very diverse in London nowadays. And I just think, a lot of those people that live in those areas aren't particularly West Ham fans. They might be. So like I said, but those kind of communities of hard-working East Londoners have kind of just spread their wings and moved out, I guess, into pastures new in Essex, which isn't the greatest thing, but it's not the worst. Put it that way.
Yeah, I mean it was good. I mean I won't get into it too much. It was a good article because it kind of dispelled some of the stereotypes about Essex, and it sort of strengthened others. But yeah, it doesn't have the reputation of being the greatest place, but it's better for most of those people. It's better than what their families came from, which in a lot of cases was pretty genuine squalor in London.
Yeah.
So anyway. But let's talk about Hammer's Chat, if you don't mind. I'm curious as to how all this got started. We've had Gio on the show. We've had Charlie. And
you've had all the main three.
Yeah, you're the last guy. So, how long have you been with Hammer's Chat? Are you like an original gangster Hammer's Chat guy?
I'm not OG as Gio and Gonzo.
That's what kids say now. They say OG. I hear this all the time.
Yeah. They're not. I'm not OG as those guys, and I'm not as OG as Charlie, but I'm kind of a few sort of months, I guess, after Charlie. So, I mean, I'm sure those guys are giving you the ins and outs on how it started. And I know we were all together in Stratford last weekend, and we filmed, or Gio and Gonzo filmed a video together about how it all began, which is a great watch, to be fair. It was only supposed to be a 10-minute video. It turned out to be 40 minutes. So I think so many people were sort of like asking.
Is it posted yet?
No, it will be though in the coming weeks, I think, or days, or whenever Charlie gets around to editing it. But no, my story is a bit different because when they started, I had no clue about West Ham YouTube. I didn't watch any West Ham fan TV. I wasn't aware of Arsenal fan TV, Hammer's Chat, any of that stuff. All I used to do was just get my West Ham news on Twitter. I followed X, and I think West Ham News was the main account back then. I think it's suspended now, but it used to be. I think that and Central were the two sort of main ones I would focus on. And I was at university at the time, or I still am, but I was at a different university, and I was studying some, I think, sports coaching or something that wasn't interesting me in the slightest. And I had a sort of an inkling that I wanted to be a journalist. And I failed English at school. I was horrible at writing stories, anything. But I thought there has to be some way that I can get into journalism from where I'm at. So I'm scrolling through Twitter one day and I see, similar to what Charlie had, which was Gio had posted out saying, "Oh, if anybody would like to come and do some videos with us for West Ham based stuff." fire us a DM. So, I think that day I said, I think it was the day that we were playing Liverpool in the Cup where we beat them 2-1 in the second leg at Upton Park to Ogbonna's winner in extra time. And he messaged me the same day. He said, look, if you want to be on it, just tell me now, jump on the review. So I think it's about 4 years ago now, I think that video went live. There's babyface me in Sheffield in a dorm room at university. I can't look at the camera, like I'm constantly looking away. I repeat myself, stumbling over my words. But that was kind of, for me, the actual turning point to where I'm at now and going into my career. That was kind of the starting block, was actually Hammers Chat. And it's kind of crazy how it's sort of developed over the last 4 years. It really is incredible.
Yeah, and I'm sort of interested in the West Ham media community. Your West Ham Fan TV, Hammers Chat, X, the podcasts that are out there. I know it seems from an outside perspective looking in that everyone's pretty tight knit. Everyone's pretty supportive of one another. I know we've over here in America with AHTV have definitely felt that support. And again, from a very outside perspective with other clubs, I find with other clubs that there's some contentiousness once in a while between media outlets or groups. So I guess I wanted to ask you if you agreed with that assessment in terms of the West Ham group of media.
Yeah, I think when we did the charity live stream the other day, after we had all the guests on, myself, Gio, Charlie, Gonzo, we all sort of said to ourselves afterwards, I don't think any other West Ham site, could sort of do a show and bring all of the members of the community together, because people for varying reasons have issues with each other. I mean, it's sort of none of our business or none of, anybody else's, but there has been rumblings, I think, in the past between certain groups. I think out of all the people, we as Hammers Chat have sort of remained friends with everybody. I mean, I've had, and it's not like, oh, we'll look up to you and we'll kiss ass, because if you know Gio and you see Gio, he asks the tough questions and he doesn't, let things slide. He's a very nice bloke, but he doesn't stand for any nonsense either. So it's, to say that we're sort of remained friends with everybody in that West Ham community, I think is really good. But it shows, because we have the West Ham Fan TV guys. They've done a few of their post-match pint on our boats before. Hammer and Talk's been down 3 hammers. It just everybody. I think Gio is all about sort of making those connections and friendships. And I'm glad that I'm sort of a part of a group of people that feel the same way, that it's not just about who has the biggest clout online or who has this. It's more about the friendships that we've developed from it. And 4 years on, pretty much all the same people that sort of started and have joined along with the journey have remained friends. So it's I know there are a lot of rumblings of sort of discontent within a lot of fan groups, but it's with us so far, it's actually all sort of gone sort of really smoothly, I would say.
Well, you guys have been really good to us, and we appreciate that. And you've helped us a lot, gotten us a lot of exposure, and that's been fantastic for us. What do you see as the mission of Hammers Chat? Other than just having a good time and loving West Ham, is there a particular reason or reasons why you do it?
That's a really good question, because I mean, for me, I can only look at it through sort of my point of view, because the big two at the top. That's it's not for me to say what their option or their idea for Hammers Chat is. But for me, I see us as, first of all, it was obviously born out of a forum, Hammers Mad or something, whatever Gonzo started. I never had the sort of pleasure of looking at that kind of forum based thing, and I don't really go on the forum now. But I think from where I look at it, every week before a home game, or every other week before a home game, we have 300 to 400 people coming down onto a boat that know each other from an online community through forums. They have a drink, they have a laugh. There's never been any trouble whatsoever. With us personally, we've met great friends. We always meet up for drinks at 8 o'clock in Stratford usually. I haven't recently, but that was kind of always our thing. It's our group chat's called 8 a.m. Because it's, being in Stratford for that time of day and drinking. And I think for me with Hammers Chat, it's not just about the football. Like I said a second ago, it's about the friendships that we've made from it. And I think you can kind of see the reward of, especially Gio and Gonzo, the hard work that they've put in over the last 4 years. I'm not saying I haven't done anything, but what those guys have achieved to sort of provide for the fans and able for them to make them build those friendships. I think that sometimes is more important than what we do for West Ham side of things. West Ham's a bonus, but I think the sort of the community that we've built because of Hammers Chat, I think is actually been really quite special.
And you guys do that boat for every home game?
Every home game, yep. Opens 2 or 3 hours before kickoff. No matter what the time, if it's a midday kickoff, it's usually open, I think, a bit earlier. Well, not open for as long, but post-match as well. It's, no matter pre-match, post-match, we're always going to get people through the door. We've got the guest list on our security guard that stands at the top to make sure you've got your, username and from the forum and to make sure you can get in. But it's always absolutely teeming on those boats, and it's fantastic.
Is that like a business effort for you? I mean, what's the how does that work? Are you guys do you make money off of that?
Again, I don't. Yeah. I think I do know, but again, I don't know how much of Gio will want me to say. But I think, it's. I think it obviously the boat guys take a big chunk of what it is because they provide the beer and everything else, and then I think we take a small percentage of tickets sold and stuff like that. And again, it all just sort of goes back into the big Hammers Chat coffer, which helps fund the channel and the things that we do. So I think it's not a massive cut because I think the boat guys take that, but it's we do get a tiny bit of what's to offer. So,
and you got 300 or 400 people coming in for every match. Then that's a lot. I mean, that seems like a big. Do you just advertise basically just through the forum and through the channel? And I mean, is that pretty much how you get the word out?
Well, I mean, Gio's a social media whiz, as is Gonzo. I don't know. They both just know the knack of, a tweet that usually bangs. Charlie as well. I think they're all within their own right. They're all brilliant at sharing stuff on social media. And I mean, Gonzo had banners blown up that were over the bridge, advertising, come down to the boats, look at the forum. Obviously, every time Gio does a YouTube video, promotion at the end of it, always to say, if you check out the forum, that's the community. On Twitter with the 10,000 odd followers we have, it's always pump the forum. This is, at the end of the day, Gio always said the YouTube was the side thing. The main thing was the forum. That was what Hammers Chat was. So, and I mean, it's those boats when they first started, it was 100, 200 people. Now we're having to make season tickets for the boats. We've had to get an extra boat in just to fit the people on. So it's only kind of going one way because it is the closest place to drink to the ground without having to pay stupid prices for the beer. So it's only going that way, and it's really something quite special.
It sounds fantastic and something I would very much like to do.
Oh, we have to, yeah.
When we get over there, because we will all get over there. We'll Tim and I will get over there. Justin will get over there. We'll all get over there. Hopefully at the same time. That'd be the best of that ever.
Get you on that secret Hammers Chat guest list. find you a space.
You know what? For once in my life, I can go up to a security guard and say I'm on the list.
Yeah, he's really nice as well. As long as you're on Gio's little special list, you'll sail by no problems.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like bouncing security guards, usually I have no luck. Like I'm on the list, So, do you guys have any connection to the club at all? And I'm just wondering, you have a lot of followers. I think a pretty good number of followers. I think you're one of the bigger sort of West Ham media outlets. Do you feel as though you have any influence at the club, or are you even trying to do that?
No, I think, we've always sort of remained neutral in our approach to things. I think in our videos, we all speak with free mind and free speech. I don't think that, any one of us holds back necessarily. We all have our opinions. We're not feel like we're taped up or can't say anything. Obviously, it's known that Gio and Gonzo and other people from West Ham sites, Nicky and Ryan and X and a few other people had the board meetings with Karen Brady. But I think Gio and Gonzo, again, it's not really my area. I'm just the guy on the side that has always kind of been around. But I think they've always felt like they have remained neutral and have a duty of responsibility to sort of relay what can be said, because obviously some things can't be said, but to liaise with Karen, and when that whole thing happened. But no, there's never been any sort of influence from the club or for us to the club. It's always been, us and the fans first. It's never been anything untoward or sly-handed. I probably would say it's all been above board, and
I wasn't thinking even so much that as I just didn't know if I wasn't thinking that you were in cahoots with the club. It was more along that. Do you think anybody there listens to this? I mean, do you think because I can't ever tell this ownership, this board. I can't really tell how serious the board is about taking the fans' feelings into consideration. A lot of
they definitely. I definitely know that some of them do pay attention. I don't know who specifically is at the club that does it, but of course they do. I mean, we know a lot of players that have watched some of our stuff and have commented either privately or whatever. I think especially when you become a big voice, of course they're going to want to listen and see what you have to say, because they have to kind of be aware if maybe they don't agree with something we said, or even ideas that they take on board. But I think I think it was Jay from Hammer and Talk a few years ago that David Gold said he watched his video or something, and it was like, they must be watching stuff. So I think that I'm not saying they religiously sit down and go, right, cup of tea, we're going to sit and watch that every single week, But I think there is a part of them that watches certain videos, maybe not necessarily on match results, but if it's something to do with the club, I reckon that they do probably sit and listen now.
And what do you think? What do you think's been, since we're on the topic of the board, what do you think's been the turning point? Because for me, it seems before that Burnley match, not this previous season, but the season before, that we had the March plan that didn't go through, and then we all know what happened during the actual match. Some people, especially in Chicago, say that that's a turning point. I was at that match, so I saw everything firsthand. So for me, that seemed like a real turning point. Again, though, as an American, you're a little bit on the outside looking in, at least compared to you guys. So I'm curious as to what your opinion is regarding the turning point where the board may have realized, oh shit, we need to actually start listening and implementing some of the things that the fans want.
Yeah, I think it's, I remember, I wasn't specifically at that game. I think I was working behind the bar that day at my old work. But I had the game up, and I saw, from the reactions, and obviously I had a lot of friends that were there at the game. And I think I've never been fans of the board specifically. And I think it's, there had to be something that was to give. And I know that Bubbles, the statement that he made, it was just a symbolic of putting the flag down in the semicircle. I think it was the turning point, because I think they realised that actually, if we don't put our money where our mouth is and actually act upon the things that we said we do when we moved here, that it's going to turn very hostile and very volatile. And at the end of the day, they're two old blokes, and I'm sure that they don't be appreciated sitting, in their corporate section and have lighters and coins and stuff thrown at them. It can't be nice for them or their families. And I'm not saying I agree with people that did those kind of things, because I don't think it's right to do that. But I think it clearly sent a message to them that actually, to start making a profit out of this club, because whether or not they look at West Ham as a business opportunity and not actually as a football club, I think they realise that they're going to have to spend money to make money. And I think you can see from the sort of the last 18 months, and even with the signing of Fornals, like I watched that kid tonight for Spain against France.
Beautiful assist. Beautiful.
My God,
assist.
I think just what they've done in terms of Pellegrini and everything, and just it's nice. I don't still. I mean, you have to give them their dues where the dues, deserved, right. and they have done a remarkable job really in the last 18 months to turn it around. But no, for me, I still hold a grudge against them for what happened with the Olympic Stadium move. But yeah, that Burnley game in particular, I think they realised, if we're going to make money, we have to spend money basically. And I think that they've finally done that, and it's sort of slowly the cogs are turning in the right direction.
Yeah, you mentioned that mob that were throwing things at them, and I agree. I don't condone that, because you could seriously hurt someone. But I mean, that must have really. I mean, I was on the other side of the stadium from the director's box, or whatever you want to call it. But I mean, that was the first time in my life where I actually saw an angry mob of people in person. And just being on the other side, and obviously the mob was not directed at me, you know, it was directed at, you know, elsewhere. It was still just such a powerful feeling in a negative way, unfortunately. So I do agree that must have been the turning point for them.
Yeah. I mean, I've not been, like I said, I wasn't involved in that, but I've been to plenty of away games for West Ham, and I've I want to say I've been a part of those angry mobs, but because it's not me per se, but I've been around people that do that kind of stuff week in, week out, and it's not nice to be behind that. And I think, thankfully, where you're sat is where my dad and my season ticket is based. So again, we would be away from anything that was going on and quite far back. So, but no, that mob mentality kind of thing is definitely scary, and I think it's enough to sort of change anybody's mind. No, you know.
Yeah, where is your season ticket?
So we sit where the goal is. I think it's 235. I think we're halfway up. We've got a really good view of the pitch. Let me see if I can try and pull up a picture so I can kind of explain to myself really where I believe it is.
Are you more like in the corner?
Yeah, it's closer to the corner. So where Gio and Gonzo sat the first season they had theirs, they were directly level with the corner flag, and we're just to the right and back up a bit. But we still have a fantastic view of everything that goes on in the pitch. It's just a little bit too far back for my liking, which is the only issue.
That's the nature of the whole place, though, right? I mean, everything's a little bit.
Yeah, everything's a little bit spaced out. I think is the best way to describe it.
What do you think it's going to take to get people over the loss of the Boleyn? I mean, do you think success is enough? Do you think if we finish top 6, you know, next season, maybe the season after that, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but theoretically, is that enough? How many times do we have to do it? How many years is it going to take? I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I think. Do you know, I usually switch off to that kind of stuff because I think I've been so bored of talking about it the last few years. But when we were down in Stratford last Saturday and we were filming, one of the questions was, about do you give the board credit for what they've done? And one person, I'm not going to name names because if you want to see the video, you can go check it out. Secret plug.
That's good. That's how you should do it.
But one of the guys said that, he would never go back to home games. And this guy's an average season ticket holder. I've seen him away games when I didn't even know he was going to be there. He travels up and down the country week in and out, spending his hard-earned money on West Ham, and he loves the club, but he refuses to go to home games anymore. And it's the same for another one of the guys. I know he just hates the stadium, doesn't want to turn up anymore. And this is another guy who's middle-aged, but has been going to West Ham for the last 20 years religiously. So I think that a lot of people have learned to accept the stadium. And I think as time goes, it can only sort of grow and develop. And I think a lot of what people are saying is that they want, obviously, the seating move forward. And I think if you can somehow generate that atmosphere, then the seats get moved forward. And I think it's little things like, I mean, when at the Bowling Ground, I actually had John Joe Hewerman contact me, the guy who does a lot of charity work for the Bobby Moore Foundation. And myself and my dad, we used to have a brick at Upton Park in the walls. And I know that when Bowling Ground got destroyed, it was kind of like trying to hand all the bricks out. I still haven't actually picked my brick up from him, but at the new ground, you've got the Champions Place stones. And where those are based are obviously similar to the bricks. They're on the floor, and I've got a stone there with myself and my brother, and they're so poorly kept. They used to wheel the bins over them on match days. It was dirt, sand, everything. It's little things like that, I think, that mean a lot to people. And I think only then, when they've kind of, worked with the fans like they tried to last year on getting the little details right, I think that's when you'll finally start seeing people come back. But like I said, whilst those two owners are still there, there's a guy on Saturday, you'll see from the video, there's a guy on Saturday who said, I will not go back into the home stadium whilst those owners are still there. And fair play to him, because I don't blame him, but at the same time, it's kind of like I understand. I understand where he's coming from.
Do you think that there is a shift in the West Ham fan base? And I asked this question because everybody in the chat room, get ready to take a drink. So I'm going to mention Texas, because I did grow up in Texas, as I mentioned. the Texas Rangers used to play in a junky old ballpark for many years, and then they tore it down and built a new one. And the new one was more expensive. It was more sort of, I don't know, elite looking. The team
They're leaving that one, aren't they, Lee?
They are leaving it now. Yes, only 25 years old, and they're building a new one now. That changed considerably. When I grew up going to the games at the old Arlington Stadium, it was a very blue-collar crowd, very rowdy. The team was never very good, but it was a fun atmosphere. You know, I mean, I guess there were some mild similarities to West Ham, but not really. It's just it was a more fun blue-collar crowd. A lot of drunks, a lot of fights, a lot of spectacle in the seats. And then the new place, well, it's 25 years old now, but the place built in the 90s, the place where they play now, it's very corporate, and the fans are very corporate. And it's like a bunch of guys in like peach polo shirts and khaki shorts, you know, and topsiders, and their snotty little, you know, private school kids. And it's just a different crowd altogether. And you've seen that a little bit too, to be honest, at Fenway Park in Boston. It used to be a much rougher atmosphere than it is now.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if you're seeing, Tom, the same thing happen at West Ham. Is there like a sanitization kind of the fan base going on, where the old guys who don't want to go anymore, who created all that atmosphere, are leaving, and the ones who are coming in are more sort of corporate, like, I don't know, plastic fans, I guess.
I mean, there's the corporate side of things. As you may have seen from the charity stream, Gonzo and I have a little thing about corporate, because he may not have invited me one time to corporate when I potentially should have got an invite, but it's all sorted now because somebody's actually invited me to corporate next year because of that. So I finally get to experience what corporate's like. I'm probably going to hate it now.
Yeah, we need to have somebody in the chat room asking if you're going to go corporate. So I guess I'd answer.
Yeah, I did. Gonzo actually got an invite from somebody after we finished the live stream, because I think he felt sorry for me. So, but no, I think it's not so much even corporate people. I think a lot of times, you know, a lot of the people that have bought season tickets, some of them aren't even fans of West Ham. And I think a lot of the people...
Why would they buy those tickets then? I don't understand.
Well, because I think when they work in London, you know, it's easy to get to if you're coming straight from work or something on a Friday night, you know, or a midweek game. It's stuff like that. There's
that too, right? I mean, a lot of it's just business entertainment. I mean, I can't tell you how many people I know who've gone to Fenway Park because, you know, the company took us there, right?
Yeah. Well, it's the same at West Ham. There was all those seats that were sat above where the away fans sit, in between my season ticket and where the away fans are. There's about 500 seats that are all owned by Thompson or some airline company that sell the seats as part of their package. And that's the thing. It's not so much the corporate side of things, I think, but it's heading in a direction of tourists come to visit. It's like if you see how just neutral and how quiet the Emirates, Man United Stadium, Old Trafford, the City of Manchester Stadium, the Etihad, all Liverpool, they're just lots of day trippers, lots of people. And the thing is, I think we as a country, we're kind of, I don't know, it's like people just don't take well to tourists, but we quite happily go over to European countries or American countries and watch the basketball or the American football. And, you know, but when it's our own country, everyone's like, oh, you know, we can't have tourists in here. It's all becoming so touristy, but it's natural. That's how you grow as a football club.
But you could have tourists. I mean, I feel, you know, I went to the Bowl like almost 10 years ago, and Tim's been to the Olympic Stadium, and Justin's been over. And I feel as though when we go over, I think we're pretty legitimate fans. I mean, we know the songs, we know the players, we know the history of the club, we know what's going on. I mean, I feel as though there's a difference between that and just the casual sort of like, do I go to the movie theater or do I go to a football match? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's kind of where, because I think
this disparity in ticket size, because obviously you're going to a stadium where at the a bowling ground there was less season ticket holders, you know, and more hardcore fans, so to speak. And now it's kind of dissipated because you have more fans that have never been season ticket holders that necessarily haven't had this, you know, a season ticket at the bowling or whatever. And I think just that in general has sort of taken away from the whole. And I'm not saying they're fans, but they're not as hardcore as the people that used to sit, you know, in the Bobby Moore or in the Chicken Run, or, you know, Bobby Moore lower specifically at Upton Park. So I think it's just that increase in fan size. It's going to be difficult. I mean, I remember sitting down on that first game of the Europa League. I was sat down first game in the stadium, proper fixture, and somebody tried to start bubbles, and I mean, it was just the most horrendous version of bubbles you've ever heard. Like you couldn't. It was just all four corners of the ground was all singing at different times, and nobody understood. And I think it's just. I don't necessarily think it's the fans. It's the stadium. I think it's just everything involved. It's weird. I think it's just the best way to describe it.
I hope that'll kind of get better. I hope that'll be more sort of organization.
Oh, it's definitely got better, but it's those first few months were painful when we first moved in. I mean, just the chance and the starting of chance. My word, there was certain games that you went to, and it was just so weird.
So what do you guys think about? Since we're on the topic of fans, and I'm always interested in asking, English West Ham fans this question: what do you guys think about like American or North American fans? Like obviously the game of soccer is becoming more popular, especially on NBC.
He means football. He means football.
I'm gonna call it soccer. It's just
no,
I'm gonna stay true to myself.
You're in England too, Ron Greenwood called it soccer. I could look at
it's true. It's an English term, but yeah, I mean, it's obviously becoming more popular overall. So I think popularity in the game and each team is going to increase. But since we're on the topic of fans, and I'm just curious as to maybe not. I mean, but would love to hear your opinion on American fans. I'm assuming you like us since you're on our show, but. Just like overall, I guess I'm interested in what, the hardcore born and bred West Ham fans think of, fans from America and Canada and North America in general.
I think there's two opinions. there's a nice one and there's a bad one.
Okay. Nice one, baby. Yeah.
So for me personally, I have no issue with it because I've been watching American sports since I was 6 or 7. I'm a mad basketball fan. I'm an NBA fan. I know inside out everything about basketball. I used to play basketball. American football, again, self-taught since I was young. Used to follow every single basketball game of Miami Heat for years, just after Wade was drafted, right the way through. So for me personally, I don't have an issue with it because I think I used to intrude on American sports, and they probably thinking, "Good God, what's this guy talking about? Hasn't got a clue or something." Like, just listening to me talk about basketball, thinking this guy's not got a clue. But in reality, you kind of know. Actually, I do, but I understand why they don't necessarily agree with me. So when American people talk about football, I think it's. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing at all because I think it's a shame that your MLS isn't at the same level as some of the European top 5 leagues. So you're not sort of, I want to say, you don't get to experience firsthand a great football. You have to watch it through the TV and stuff like that. So,
yep.
But I don't think everybody has an opinion just because you're sat thousands of miles away doesn't mean that you can't observe the same things that I observe and see week in, week out. It's, but I think for the hardcore people that have lived here, it doesn't matter whether you're Asian, whether you're American, South American, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you're not from the UK, your opinion counts for nothing because you clearly don't understand what is going on. And
even if they had a conversation with one of the most knowledgeable, soccer, like if I'm not super knowledgeable about soccer, I have a lot to learn, but I think I'm pretty knowledgeable, but I know there are some super, super knowledgeable American fans about the game of soccer. So even if like an American started opening their mouth and really knew what they were talking about and sounded like, oh, that makes sense. You think that they would give him the time of day, or do you think there's still just some fans that are just like, if you're not from the UK, done?
I think they would look to give them the time of day, whether or not that's behind closed doors are going fucking Americans or something like you don't know what they're saying when the cameras or when you're not there and everything's sort of switched off. But I think like I said, I don't have an issue with it. I've had I used to write for an American site at SB Nation, Brace the Hammer for West Ham for 2.5 years. Like I met lots of nice American guys. Like I understand you know, maybe because I've got to know American fans that are West Ham fans, it's a lot easier for me. But no, I think there are those fans that still kind of say, oh, he's American, he ain't got a clue, or oh, he's Indian, he doesn't understand, oh, he needs to work, you know, work in East End London. Like, you can't follow West Ham if you don't know that. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, oh, if he's a fan of football, maybe he should just follow the Premier League in general. Why does he have to choose us? He should just choose another club or something like. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, really?
I think for those glory hunting fans, maybe they think it's a bit easier. But I think because it's quite a tight-knit fan base, I think, especially with a club like West Ham that's sort of lesser known, I think they're not as, you know, welcoming maybe as someone like United, where it's been like, oh, well, because we've won so many trophies, we kind of expect it nowadays.
It's funny. I almost see it the opposite way. I mean, I feel as though our experience on the show with the people we've talked to, and you know, the majority of our viewers actually come from the UK. Like something like 60 or 65% actually come from the UK. I feel as though, you know, they've accepted us because we're crazy enough to support West Ham, whereas if you're just another Manchester United, Chelsea, you know, even Tottenham supporter, clearly, at least in some regard, a glory hunter, right? I mean, otherwise, there's really no reason. I mean, I don't see the emotional connection with those clubs unless you just want to win stuff.
Yeah.
So I've kind of found that you know, I think maybe we're a little better accepted.
I think what used to irk me more than anything was the only time before I met American fans or West Ham fans specifically was if I would be on a night out somewhere at university, and you know, there's a couple of American students dotted around, and you'd now and again, I'm saying like one or two, but it would always be, oh my God, like, how do you support West Ham? And it would always be, oh, well, there was that movie with Elijah Wood and Green Street, and it was
a lot of people still say that. A lot of people.
and I would just used to be like, just the rage I felt inside, because it was like, what? You can't support West Ham for that reason.
I always say, my thinking is always, it doesn't really matter how you get here as long as you get here. And to me, there's a difference between somebody who says, I support West Ham because of Green Street, and I think Green Street is the way things really are, and it's a very real life movie to me, and somebody who says, you know what, that movie got me into West Ham, but then I learned about the history of the club, then I learned about some of the true stories of the 1980s, 70s, and 80s with the, you know, with the fan troubles and so forth, and you know, I see Green Street as kind of an entertaining but ridiculous movie, and I'm a legitimate West Ham fan. I'm with you. If somebody just says, oh, I love West Ham because of Green Street, and I want to go get in fights with the GSE, whatever it's called in the movie. That's pretty sad, you know.
Yeah.
It's brought a lot of people who've then said, hey, you know what? I want to be a legitimate fan of this club, like a real supporter. We've had them on the show, you know, who are very dedicated, and you know, who know that movie is just kind of a ridiculous American farce that is nevertheless pretty entertaining to watch.
Oh no, it's a good watch now and again. I still feel slightly emotional every time I see Petey die. It does bring a tear to my eye.
Of course, absolutely. Although we've said the Firm is I think the best hooligan movie I've seen.
Yeah.
But I wanted to very quickly mention the chat room, since we like to do this on every episode. So Tom, I know you probably fall asleep at almost 3 o'clock.
No, don't be. No, I'm up to go on holiday tomorrow, so my flight's at 6 a.m. So I have to be up at 3 tomorrow. So this is getting me prepared basically for that.
There you go. So Gabe is here as usual, our buddy from Austin, 15 years old, lives in Austin, big West Ham fan. Good dude. We like having Gabe around. Jim from Maine, up in the wilds of Maine. Actually, I don't think he's really in the wilds of Maine. I think he's like on the coast. So that's more normal Maine. Get up in interior Maine is where it gets a little crazy. Wally's here as always in Pennsylvania. Tim always watches what we're doing.
He's big brother, isn't he? He always got his beady eye.
The whole thing was his idea, and he does a great job with it. So I'm just happy to be working with him. Neil from Australia was on earlier. I don't know what time it is there. I don't really know. So who knows what time it is? He was on earlier. So glad Neil's here. I think that's pretty much everybody. But it's a pretty good little.
I'm shocked that Charlie Walsh wasn't here though. I'll be having words with him when I get off. I was there to support him when he came on.
He's been on live with us. He's been in our chat live before.
Shocking.
He should be on tonight supporting you, but yeah,
he should.
He's not dedicated to the cause because he's not. He's not up there. You think? Does he have a job?
Yeah, he does. A lot of people look at him and go, "This guy must be just living on benefits." No, he's not. He's a videographer, so he does travel all over.
I lived on benefits in France for a while on French unemployment. It's a fantastic lifestyle.
Blimey.
It's absolutely brilliant. I would do it again. But anyway. Where are you going on holiday?
2 weeks in Portugal with the family. So my dad's a bit of a creature of habit. He got married in the same place. He's been to the same place for the last it's about 7 years now, I think. So little town called Coveiro in the south of Portugal for 2 weeks. Absolutely lovely. So hired a nice big villa for ourselves. For 14 people, massive swimming pool, big barbecue, big outdoors, tennis courts, all that kind of jazz. So yeah, it's 2 weeks of relaxation before the madness starts of moving back to Leeds in a couple of weeks for uni. So
there's a debate in the chat room as to whether you made your bed just for this episode.
Oh, mate,
is that something you do?
Mate, if anybody has seen me on Hammers Chat in the last 4 years, I've changed location so many times. I move house all the time, and no matter where I am, this bed is always made. I am OCD as anything. My room has to be completely tidy. So for the last 4 years, it doesn't matter what Hammers Chat video you click on, that bed and these covers will always be made because I just cannot stand untidy. So yeah.
We just got. I wanted to mention. We just got John just signed on from Thailand, where it is 8:50 in the morning.
Wow.
So that's I can't. Global time zones are too much for me to comprehend. He's in English and a Hammers fan for 55 years. Good lord.
I feel sorry for you, mate.
55 years. Not a lot to. Well, anyway. It builds character. Since he has no problem with us, that's excellent. I'm glad he's here too. So thanks for being here, John. I appreciate that. That's good.
Yeah, I've only experienced positives from all of the English fans that I've introduced myself to, and I've always gotten the vibe that they actually like respect that I chose to support West Ham instead of your Uniteds or Arsenals or things of that nature.
I felt the same way. When I used to post on Knees Up Mother Brown for a long time, I haven't done it in a while because I kind of don't. I have a little more of a serious job now, and I don't do that as much at work. But there were one or two guys who would sort of slag American fans, and I get that. But most everybody else just chatted with us normally. I think it's the idea is like if you're brave enough to support West Ham and you're dedicated to it, then okay.
I think for me, like I said, I got a copy of. My mum used to work in America all the time. She used to go away on work vacations, and she brought me back a copy of, I think it was Slam magazine in like 2006, I think, or 2007, whatever year it was that D Wade won All-Star MVP, and I've got his posters still in my wardrobe from that day. And I started playing basketball after I read this magazine. I was so in awe of what I saw. Like even just through pictures, I was just, that's it. I'm going to research and go from there. And obviously when 2011, 2010 came around and it was like LeBron had moved over to Miami and everyone was like, oh, you're only supporting Miami because of that. And it was, for me, I kind of went, well, I have been watching for the past 4 or 5 years. I said, but let me just prove to you that it's not. And I sat and I watched for 5 or 6 years straight, every single game. I mean, 82 games, 120 sometimes if they, playoffs included, just to be able to say, all right, mate, I'm not that much of a bandwagon fan. So, and, he left and I'm still watching pretty much, I'd say, half of the season games. Like I said, my season pattern's screwed up anyway, so I think might as well, stay up and watch basketball. But I understood the idea of supporting another team in another country that was, and how they must have felt. So for me, it was easy to kind of understand why American fans would fall in love with West Ham. And it's, I've never heard any negative comments towards it, but I do know that there are people that have those said opinions, which is unfortunately a shame for them because I think they're quite narrow-minded people in that respect.
I think it's great that you watch American sports and basketball. The one thing I'll say about Miami is when Miami won that championship in maybe 2006, I think it was.
Yeah, 06.
Dwayne Wade got every call against the Mavericks anybody could ever get. And I'm not really a Mavericks fan, all right, but I did grow up in Dallas, so everybody in the chat room take another drink. I did grow up in Dallas, and so I had sympathies with the Mavericks, all right? I wanted them to win. They were the team I grew up with.
They got their revenge, though.
They did.
They won the NBA championship the same year the Bruins won the Stanley Cup. And here's another drink coming. The same year TCU won the Rose Bowl. So guess what else happened that year? Guess what else happened in that magical year? West Ham got relegated.
West Ham got relegated.
That's right. 2011. 2011. So West Ham has to crap all over everything, But anyway, yeah, I think it's cool. I mean, as a fan of American sports all my life, if people from overseas watch and take it seriously, that's cool.
I love it. Yeah.
When I was in France, I played football, American football, which there's a whole league of clubs in France that play American football. And those guys knew way more about the game than I did. They followed it more closely than I did. I've always been a big fan, but I mean, they were completely legit, 100%,
Yeah. It's massive over here now. University sports for playing American football is crazy. Like what the international series has done for American football in this country is mind-boggling.
Which team do you support, Tom?
I'm Miami sports all the way through.
Dolphins.
Marlins, Heat, and Dolphins. Yeah, the Dolphins I can blame for my dad because he supported Dan Marino. That was kind of where the Miami link started, so it was easy for me to transition.
I mean, Miami there's a lot of similarities between Miami, the Dolphins in particular, and West Ham because I mean they haven't won anything in 40 some odd years, right? Last time they won
72 or something like that.
70, I think 72, 73.
Living in mediocrity. I think that's pretty
right. Exactly. Great players, but never quite good enough. So I mean, I could sort of. Have you been to Miami? Have you been able to come over and see?
I haven't. Do you know? It's quite depressing, really.
Miami either.
it's quite depressing, really. Like I said, you can't really see my wardrobe from here. Actually, I'll tell you what. Well, let's give you a quick insight into my wardrobe.
Let's have a look.
Because it'd be a bit difficult. I mean, like I said, I haven't lived here for years, but we've got all posters and stuff up there. I can't pull my camera up there. There's even an old picture of me.
We get
an old picture of me on my old basketball team or whatnot. So, like I said, it's. I mean, I haven't lived here for years, but yeah.
How about University of Miami? Are you guys aware? You must be aware of how big college sports are in this country. Unique. I don't think any place else in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he's not directly related to me, but my stepmom's sister's son, so her nephew, he just came back. He was a Division II golf athlete. He went to a college in Miami, actually, and he's just come back playing NCAA Div 2 golf over there. And when he moved over 4 or 5 years ago, I was kind of just starting that sort of watching or whatnot. And the pair of us used to go back and forth. And that was how my sort of love for college basketball specifically. I did start watching college football, but I realized sooner or later that there's only literally 2 or 3 teams that are going to win it every year. And that the best programs are always the same, recruitment wise. Yeah. But college basketball is up there with, sometimes if I have the choice, like this year specifically, if I saw Zion Williamson playing and I had the choice between an NBA game and a college game, I would switch Duke on. Yeah. Or if it was
TV.
Yeah, exactly. And if it was a few years ago and it was Anthony Davis when he played over at, Kentucky, I would that would be on the telly instead of an NBA game. So it's.
I get it. We do have a question. Jim up near Lake Sebago in Maine. Jim, I know where that is. My ex-wife's sister and her wife both went to St. Joseph's College of Maine, which is right on the shores of Lake Sebago. Lovely place. Anyway, so Jim up in Maine, he wants to know, are you going to follow this the David Beckham effort, the Miami football club that's supposed to be in MLS eventually sometime? I don't know when.
Do you know what? I am in a way because I've tried so hard. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to sit and watch an MLS game, and I struggle because the standard of some of the games are really quite dire. Almost, it is the equivalent of watching League One over here, I guess sometimes.
I wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah. So, but I'm definitely interested. I mean, I remember it was probably a good 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. I remember seeing David Beckham sat courtside at the AA Arena. When he was just setting it up, and I was intrigued back then. But I guess I can try, maybe just for Miami sports' sake. But no, what
if they sign Andy Carroll? What if Andy Carroll's their first signing?
Then I would respectfully refuse your offer. There's only so much I can take. All right.
Andy Carroll, if the Revolution, and I haven't been to a Revolution game in years. And last time I went, somebody else paid for me to go. If the Revolution signed a former West Ham player, I would go. I'd go watch him play once, like once. Not like multiple times, but like one time. I would go watch them. Sure. I'll tell you. My nephew, who's kind of been on the channel once or twice before, my nephew up in Maine. He's a big Chelsea guy. I'm working on that. He's only he's a freshman in high school. He just finished his freshman year, so we're gonna get it converted. It just takes time. But I took him to see Chelsea play the Revolution in a friendly. Well, it was the week before the Europa League final. I believe they came over here and they went back, and they put on Rob Green for about the last 2 minutes, of the match. And I just went absolutely nuts cheering for Rob Green. I mean, I was, it's really other than that, I was mostly sitting looking at my phone the whole time because I really wasn't that interested in what was going on.
He's probably thinking, who the hell is this crazy guy that's just got this?
No, listen, Aiden knows his football. He plays for his high school team. He's a keeper. He knows, right? He knew who Rob Green was. So I was going bonkers for Rob Green while the Chelsea fans stared at me. But yeah.
By the way, guys, Balbuena just got sent off in his Copa America game.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Good man. Can take the boy out of Paraguay. I can't take him out of East London. Well, good boy.
I forgot that was going on tonight, actually.
Yeah, I just got sent off about 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it's still 0-0. What? It's 0-0.
Yeah, it's still 0-0.
Who are they playing against?
Brazil.
It's Brazil.
Oh, blimey.
Brazil haven't looked all that great to me. They haven't looked all that special.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the weaker Brazilian sides, I would say. Quite some time.
They're not anything special. I'm personally really looking forward to the U.S. women's game on Friday.
Yes.
France. Yeah. It's gonna be a fantastic match. It's at 3:00 in the afternoon. I think I'm just gonna take off work early.
Yeah,
it's gonna be great. So Justin, are we gonna do this thing we do now with the 10 questions, the rapid fire questions? Are we doing that? What do you think?
Yeah, we could do that. I don't have the questions on me, so you're the one that's going to ask them.
Okay, here we go. Okay. Now let's see. We have these for Tom. We have these for American fans. We have these for ex-players. All right, here we go. English fan or non-player? I think you fit into the category English fan or non-player. This sounds very flattering for some reason, but anyway. I think of you as a player on the West Ham media scene. See, that's
okay. Well, great.
All right, so these are meant to be like. If you're ready for this, are you ready for this? Do you want to do this?
Yeah, go for it. Far away.
You ever seen Inside the Actors Studio? This American show where a guy named James Lipton interviews actors, and he just sticks his most of his head up their asses for the whole hour. And then he asks,
no, I have not seen.
Oh, the guy, he's the most.
It's a good show.
It's a good show. No, it's a fascinating
really
show.
cool.
Great mega stars on the show, right?
Mega stars, yeah.
Hugely famous people.
And then once in a while, you'll see at old episodes, because the Actors Studio is an acting school, and you'll see now famous actors as students. You'll see Bradley Cooper asking questions in the audience as a student. It's pretty cool.
It's actually really good. And the guy knows cinema better than anybody else I've ever seen. It's just that he's extremely obscure. He
kisses ass. He
totally does. The Dave Chappelle episode is worth watching because it's freaking Dave Chappelle, and I love Dave Chappelle. But he's talking to Dave Chappelle. We talked about this last week, Justin. He's talking to Dave Chappelle as if Half Baked is Gone with the Wind or something. You know what I mean? He's in reverent tone. Anyway, at the end of every episode, he asks these rapid fire questions, and so we're trying to do the same thing. So my best, James Lipton. All right, here's number one: Irish coffee or hot toddy?
Irish coffee goes down great after an Indian.
Favorite goal you have seen West Ham score?
Is it actually at the game or?
Either way, doesn't matter.
All right, we'll go at the game. Pyatt at Blackburn free kick. I absolutely love that one. The sitting behind in the stand with 5,000 West Ham fans. The bend that took was quite special. So yeah, I'd say that.
Would you take him back?
Oh no, this whole debate's been going on all week. I wouldn't just because if the club signed him, look, fair enough, he becomes a player again, I'd get behind him. But in terms of the way he disrespected us, I don't think I'd take him back. And I think he's just half the player he was, and I think we've signed better players to play in that position. So
I think the issue is that he's 4 years older. Yeah.
But his ego, I don't think he sits in a bench role. I think he wants to start, but he would not start in that team, I don't think, anymore.
I don't think he would either. I'd still take it back though.
Just for the memories.
I'm a sucker for abuse.
just to see him bend a free kick in from 30 yards against Spurs at their stadium.
Well, I mean, okay, even if he does it in the League Cup against Aldershot or something, just to see him do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just so the Payet shirt that I bought for a friend of mine would once again be relevant.
mine went in the bin. So
I bought a Lanzini that season. That's what's crazy. Is I bought myself a Lanzini. I don't know why. It just was instinct. But anyway. All right. So apple pie or meat pie. Do you even have apple pie in the UK? Apple pie.
Oh yeah, apple pie all day. McDonald's do the best. McDonald's used to do. I don't know if they still do them, but McDonald's apple pies over here.
I don't know if they do. Yeah, no, McDonald's apple pie. I for sure 100% agree with you. So good.
So hot though. Do you ever get? I don't know what it's if they're like this now, but when I was a kid, a McDonald's apple pie came out at like 900 degrees. It was
they were
when you like took that first bite, oof.
Oh,
you definitely be careful. You gotta bite the corner of the pastry first.
Yeah,
hot air out.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you got the steam out. Yeah. Let's see. Man, I'm getting so old. I can't read these. I can't read this.
I was wondering what you're doing, blinking with the eyes there. I was going to call the doctor or something.
I'm holding the phone like 10 feet away here. Looks like I'm taking a selfie, but in fact, I'm just trying to read. A word that makes you happy. I didn't make these up, by the way. Wayne and Dallas made these up.
I was gonna say, blimey, was that Wayne or was that his special twin that came out on the live stream?
It might have been Nigel.
Good God, that was freaky, especially at 4 a.m. That was an experience, I tell you.
It was awesome, but yeah, Nigel less so.
A word that makes me happy. I've never been asked that.
It's kind of a weird question.
I don't know. A word that makes me happy.
It doesn't matter.
I would say let's just go with I don't know. If on Soccer Saturday, if I'm watching and West Ham score a goal and somebody screams goal, there we go. We go with that because I'm happy at that point.
All right, your favorite curse word, or as we'd say in Texas, cuss word.
I do. To be honest with you, I have a wide vocabulary of swear words. I'm always very polite when I'm around, people like yourself or family members and everything. But behind closed doors, my God, I should watch my language sometimes. I'd probably say twat is a good one of mine. I do like the word.
That's an awesome answer. I love that.
And I love it because I know some of the guys in America often call it twat because they can't say it specifically. Twat.
When I was a small child, the girl who grew up next door to me thought that was the anatomical correct scientific word for female genitalia. And so I went around, I said that word all the time when I was a kid because I thought that's what it was called, but I was mispronouncing it, and yeah, I did say twat.
It's a common mistake.
It's not really like, I don't think most Americans would consider that much of a cuss word, but I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Twat prick or bastard, I reckon. Yeah, probably I'll go with.
Those are good. Those are good.
Different.
The team you love to beat.
It's got to be Spurs. It's just nobody other than Spurs.
Can I just tell you though, we had a guy from Mississippi on. Now you'll get this because you know American sports. We had a guy from Mississippi on Sunday, and he's a big Mississippi State fan. And I said to him, other than Ole Miss, that's a big one. I said, other than Ole Miss, the team you love to beat. I thought he was going to, say Tottenham, but he looks at me and says, Alabama.
Oh, yeah, they hate it. They hate Bama.
That's awesome. Yeah, but it's got to be good, so I agree. Name a player, past or present, who epitomizes West Ham United for you.
Bobby Moore. I've got a photo of him up on my wall hugging Pele, that famous photo. I think he's just everything West Ham. I think he's defined our club as a generation. I think a lot of the trophies we have, or a few of the trophies, I'd say 2 or 3 of the trophies we have are because of him. And I think he just changed English football, and especially in '66. I think this country has a lot to be thankful for because of him. And I think that we've had showmen and great players in Di Canio, Tevez, Brooking, Bonds, Devonshire, those kind of guys. But I think the man that started the trend of a proper West Ham boy was Bobby Moore. And like I said, I love the man. I didn't even see him play, but he's from what I've read, seen, and spoken to people that have watched him play, especially my granddad. He was just he was something else. So yeah, I'd say Bobby Moore.
I don't think there could be possibly a better answer than that. We'll get back to him in a minute. The player you enjoy watching the most in the current squad?
Ooh, I'd say Felipe Anderson, just because I think he just that trickery side of things is. We do love a tricksy player at West Ham, especially a tricksy winger. So yeah, I'd say Felipe Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I mean, let's face it, when Arnie's in a bad mood, he's very entertaining.
Yeah, he pisses me off more than anything.
Yeah, I know. We should have talked about him more, I guess, but I think he comes back, right? He comes back, doesn't he? Doesn't he have? We don't have any more strikers. He comes back.
Yeah. I want him. I think we all spoke about it. Well, myself and Justin did, I think, didn't we, the other week?
Yeah.
But no, I'm unchanged in my position. I think that'll. I don't want him back.
I would take him because we know what he is. But anyway, let's see. So which player from West Ham's? Oh well, you probably already answered this, but let's do it again. Which player from West Ham's past would you bring back to play for us, just for fun? Let's say other than Bobby Moore, because I think that's the obvious answer.
There's only one answer, mate. It's Carlos Tevez. Yeah,
yes.
My favorite player of all time. Nobody try and hack my accounts because the password has since changed. But I used to have Tevez32. So before they brought in 8-character passwords, Tevez32 was my password for everything. My online name for PlayStation was Athers32. It was always 32. I created it in 2009. I think he'd even left at that point. But it was 32 because of Tevez. So if there's anybody, he was my first sort of. I was too young for Di Canio, even though my first West Ham game when I was 6, Di Canio played. But the first player I properly remember was Carlos Tevez, and I think there's just no doubt I would bring him back. And he'd score goals as well, which is what we need. So yeah, 100% Carlos Tevez.
Always respected us, even after he went to Manchester United, even after he moved on. He always respected us. He didn't celebrate against us. He always gave the fans, the hammer sign on the
first game back. I remember I was sat in the chicken run side at Upton Park with my dad against Manchester United. Whenever you read this, the names out, it's always number 7 Cristiano Ronaldo, boo, everybody boos or whatever, and it got to Tevez and it was and welcome back, reigning hammer or current hammer of the year, Carlos Tevez, and he just sticks up the iron sign. Everyone's hey, and it didn't matter how many years it goes on. I've been at away games in the last 3 or 4 years where we still sing one Carlos Tevez. There's only one Carlos. So Sheffield United next year, my God, how fun is that going to be away games?
Oh, that's going to be. You know what? I can't wait for that. The problem is we're obviously going to lose because that's the kind of game that.
Of course.
That's going to happen. But the atmosphere is going to be tremendous, and I can't wait for the Tevez masks and the taunting. And
it's going to be brilliant.
It's going to be fantastic. Okay, so one more of the rapid fire questions, which would never end up being all that rapid. But so Bobby Moore, if you could go back to when Bobby Moore was alive, let's say like 1990, sometime in the 80s, whatever, and he's sitting in his back garden and he's having tea, and you are able to have a chat with him, what's the first thing you would say to him?
I'd probably ask him. I'd probably ask him about why his, if it's natural ability or if it was how hard he trained. Because for me, whenever I've sort of seen clips of him, especially that tackle against is it Jairzinho in the whatever World Cup that was in 70.
70, yep.
That it's just effortless for him. Like it's just that natural ability. I think there's only a few players that have that sort of what we would say God-given ability, where it's kind of just natural instinct to them. They don't have to work for it. It's just something that goes for it. So I'd love to know how much work he put in, because I know he used to run with a bin bag on around the Upton Park Stadium when there was in the chicken run. He used to run to sweat all the alcohol out he'd been drinking the night before with the likes of Best and Jimmy Greaves. So I'd actually like to know how hard he worked to work on that, or whether it was just all natural, his ability. I think that would probably be one of my questions to him.
he never. I mean, I obviously never saw him play. Obviously,
Oh, actually, wait! I've just realised. Actually, no. Though I should probably ask him if he actually stole that necklace in Bogota. That would probably be the.
That's what. No, listen. That's what we had. Jay from Iowa was on Sunday, and that was what he said. He said they'd asked him, "Did you really steal that necklace?" Pretty good question, actually. He might. I don't know. He might give you a clap around the ear if you ask him that. But you know what? Probably ask him anyway. The thing is, when you watch, and of course, I never saw him play. He'd left West Ham, I think, by the time I was born. But the thing that always impresses me about the videos of him is he never seems to break a sweat. He puts out no effort at all. He's just completely he's just calm. He's patient. I mean, he's like on a different level from everybody else.
Well, that's what people used to say. He used to leave the pitch, and his kit would make all these tackles, but there would be no mud on his kit. It would just be whiter than white. It would be whiter than when he went onto the pitch. It's truly kind of just remarkable about. I think that's why a lot of fans kind of love Declan Rice, because I think they kind of envision a young Bobby Moore in Declan Rice and that sort of ability to read the game like Bobby did, I think, which is kind of nice for some of the older fans that saw Bobby play, I think, to be able to make that comparison to someone of that age.
No pressure on Declan there.
No pressure.
But yes, you're right. I think so too. Tom, it's about time for me to have to go anyway. And I know it's through about 3:15 in the morning your time, so
yeah,
you probably would like to get some kip. Do you call it?
Yeah, kip, nap, sleep. Yep.
Yeah, there are some words I won't say, like I won't say quid, because I don't think Americans should ever say 20 quid.
I always say quid.
Do you say quid?
I think quid's such a cool word, though. That's why I say it.
It's a cool word. It doesn't come out of my mouth very well. I also never call anybody mate. Without the English accent, it sounds super creepy. But anyway, so we very much appreciate you being here, especially in the middle of the night your time. You've been fantastic, as I knew you would be. And I hope you'll come on again sometime soon.
Yes.
Justin, anything else you want to mention?
No, yeah. Thanks for coming on, Tom. Really good seeing you again. Yeah,
no, it's like I say, I'm not one of the more well-known Hammers Chat people. I have been stopped a couple of times, and somebody said, "Oh, isn't that you from Hammers Chat?" And it's kind of freaky when that someone does it. You're like, whoa, I didn't know but I'm not one of the more sort of well-known people, but I always love to sort of come on and share the love with other channels and stuff. So no, it was really, and I mean, we struck up a good friendship. Again, Justin, I met the other week from the sort of podcast we did, and yourself. I think that's the best time to get to know someone is at 3:30 in the morning when they're going off of 16 hours sleep and asking all the weird questions whilst Gio's staring gormlessly into the distance.
It's the most honest time. It's the time when you're most honest with yourself. Is in the middle particularly if you're drinking, but the middle of the night. So we will be back on Sunday night. You know what? I have been trying to put the schedule up on our website. So if you go to AmericanHammerTV.us, we're actually Tim keeps the schedule. He's recruiting people to be on the show. I've been trying to put the schedule up for every week. So if you guys take a look, I can't remember who's coming on Sunday, but we got somebody to be on Sunday night. We'll figure something out. We'll be on Sunday night, 9 o'clock Eastern. That's 2 a.m. in the UK, of course. But anyway, Tom, thank you very much. And I'm going to go ahead, I guess, and sign off by saying, come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.